Welcome everybody to Behind the Scenes. Number 1. So the first component is story. So the first thing we had to do was we had to create log lines. And basically what they are is they are a very basic couple of sentences that explain the core ideas of a story. And these are my 3 log lines. A very hungry robot cannot get the vending machine to accept his money. Will he get his food? A frustrated robot is trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. Will he have enough patience to solve the cube? And finally, a robot is trying to not mess up a special recipe. Will he succeed with only one hand? So after the log lines, you had to pick one of the 3 log lines to create a story synopsis. And a synopsis is more of a detailed version that goes over the characters, their journey, and basically it will tell you everything you need to know to be able to make the story. So mine is, Albert the robot is wandering up to the entrance of a shopping mall when he sees a vending machine with his favourite treat in it. Determined to acquire this treat, he tries to buy one, but his money is rejected. Frustrated, he makes more attempts to get the money to work. Finally, he walks away, returning minutes later with a giant hammer in which he uses to smash the treat out of the vending machine. The next part is characters, props, environment, creation. So we made a mood board for our characters. This basically shows of what the feel of the character is. So I wanted it for more of a business sort of round look with like a teacup head. These are the 3 designs for my characters. So the first one is the one I picked because I liked just the way it looked. It looked more like childish because the story is he smashes a vending machine with a hammer, so you wouldn't expect a grown man to do it, but I thought that's why I picked number 1. Number 2 would have been a good one also, and number 3 I just tried different designs and I went with number 1. The next part I had to do was to colour it in and to add lighting to it to show how the light would affect the material it is. The next is a mood board for the environment. So I was going for a shopping mall theme, so I've got some pictures of some shopping mall items and whatnot, sort of the mood of the shopping mall. And then here's my design. Very plain design. I added a bit more towards the end because I had more time in the course, but it was going to be, you had to stick pretty plain. These are my hammer designs. I did 5 hammer designs. Each one of them very unique. I picked number 2 because it's sort of like that iconic clown hammer that you see in movies. But number 1 would have been my second option, I reckon. The next part of the story is storyboards. And storyboards, basically, that's how the movie will look and what will happen in each scene. In each frame, I've used arrows and a bit of words and the shot number to explain what's happening in each frame. So like in the first frame, the character Albert is rocking the suitcase back and forth, and then the next frame the camera is floating up to his head, which then will show him looking at the vending machine. The next major part of this is asset development. The first thing we had to do in asset development was orthographic drawings, which an orthographic drawing is the 4 views of a object, which is the side, the front, the top, the bottom, and the back if you need, or the other side. So this is my orthographic drawing of it. So I didn't need all the views, but I added them. I only really needed the front and side view because my character was very symmetrical, which was very helpful. And this here is my orthographic drawing for my props and some of the things that are in the environment. So you got the vending machine, the suitcase, the bench, the hammer, and the pole. And that's the coloured version. 3D creation. So this here is showing my character fully completed. Now it doesn't look like that throughout the whole process. That is fully textured. That's why it's got the color of the tie and all that. But as you can see, I've got the two orthographic drawings there imported into the software, which I use as reference points to model each side of it, which then it forms into the character you want. This here is a picture of what they look like during the process. They look all grey and sometimes very box-like, and then you'll smooth that off towards the end to make it a nice looking character. This next thing is, this is what the environment looks like. This is like behind the scenes if you were to zoom out of the camera to see what it looks like. It is actually very plain. There's nothing else in the background. I only use 3 faces for the overall wall and the floor, because I used some tricky camera angles to hide all this empty space, so it looks like this was actually a big full scene. And this is a little snippet of what it looks like using the camera angles to hide everything. The next part is rigging. So what rigging is you've got your model and you put basically bones inside of it, and these bones then attach to the model, and it's basically, yeah, as it says, like bones. So you can move your character around and the mesh around the bones will move also, so it will act a bit like skin. Or if you're like me and a robot, it acts a bit more solid and won't bend as much. But as you see here, I add controls in mine, so all those little circles there are the controls for my skeleton inside of Albert. And I designed it so the pipes on his arms, because they were meant to be pipes when I designed them in my head, I wanted him to bend really nicely, like as you can see here, so I did a bit of work to make him bend like that. Sometimes the bones won't get it right the first time, and it will make it be skewer it in different ways, and it's a little bit messy your first time around, but you have to do a little bit of work to make it nice. The next bit's the turntable. So it's just a fancy way of presenting a character so you can see all sides of it, because as it says, all it is just your character spinning around so your audience can see the whole character. Stage 3, which is production. This here is the mood board of my environment. So this mood board is mainly for lighting. So you basically want to capture the feel of these pictures in your movie, because I was going for more of a technological world and whatnot, so I got some pictures of like futuristic worlds. Lighting is very important. Lighting, as you can see, we've got this is all my lighting. So I've got a couple of lighting in scene. So I've got some little lights like the one above the door near the yellow arrows. I've got some reflecting off of the shopping trolleys as like a rail with some LEDs in it. I've also got one near the vending machine, which is actually the glow of the screen of the vending machine. And I've also got one major one, which you can see by the shadow of the top of the wall. So it's a big major directional light pointing down on a bit of an angle, as you can see from the shadows of like the character and the poles and the vending machine and the wall. The next part is animatic. So animatic is a bit like the movie. So it's using your storyboard, you chop up the individual frames of your storyboard and you set them for how long you want it to go. And then it basically runs it. You put sound effects to the background, so it's a bit like the finished movie, just it runs like the pictures are slow. So you can sort of get to a feel of what it's going to be like. And this is very useful when it comes to animating, because you set it for how long each frame you want it to go for. So when it comes to animating, you set it for how long you have, so then you don't go overboard and run over time. You can watch my animatic on YouTube if you would like. Sound is the next part. I created some of my sounds actually. I used a Milo tin, which I hit with a wrench, which I also used the wrench to slide across my table and tap together to make other sounds, such as when Albert claps his hands together. And when he's dragging his suitcase at the first scene, that sound is a wrench being dragged across the table. Now, back to the Milo tin, I filled it up with duct tape and nails, or screws, and I hit it with the wrench, and that sound effect is the Albert hitting the vending machine. And also, I used that same tin full of duct tape and nails, and I rocked it back and forth, and used that as the sound of when the vending machine rocks back and forth when Albert hits it. And just some other ones I got off the internet, like the coin droppings, and also used my whistling animation. Yeah, I had a few problems, mainly with one of the major problems with animating was that Albert's body was like, because he's a sort of a bowling pin, his arms couldn't actually sit just straight down alongside of him like a usual human would. So I sort of had to do a bit of filming myself walking in a very obscure pose to try and use that as my reference point to animate him walking. And then finally, the final edit of the film, and then it's finished. That's all. Thank you for watching.